All right. And we're rolling. How you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. You look kind of uncomfortable, so you could adjust that if you need.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah. I guess
Yeah, it's like kind of off to the side. It's a weird way to start this podcast.
It kind of is. It kind of, but now it's like the little metal thing is right in my eye line.
Oh, well, you can move it down like how I have
double
mine.
vision. I think I'm good.
You're good.
I think I'm good. You know what? If I look at it like this, I'll. It's kind of hard not to laugh right now, so it'll be a good time.
Well, I think the camera's getting your face, so we're good.
Okay, as long as the camera's getting my face.
The mic's not in his face. On the camera.
How? Oh, you can see.
You're
it,
good.
yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
All right.
Anyways, Travis, how are you doing today?
I think I already said I was doing
Yeah,
okay.
you did.
I'm still doing okay. Just so you know.
So you sent over all these things to talk about, and usually I don't have guests send me these many things. And I was reading through some of these things, and I'm like, holy cow, there's a lot here.
Yeah,
a lot of interesting things.
Well, if we don't get to it all, we can always talk about it a little bit later.
I mean, the problem is I want to get to it all.
Well, I don't really have plans tonight, so.
Oh, okay. Well, 3-hour podcast it is.
All right, let's go.
All right. So, anyways, Travis, I know that you're not from the Lansing area. You just moved here recently, right?
Yeah. Technically, I'm still in Eaton Rapids right now. So I'm hoping to get a place in Lansing in the next couple of weeks. All right, if I can put my email out there, if anybody's got a place, let me know.
Are you looking to buy a house?
Eventually. As a veteran, I qualify for like the veteran loan opportunities, but I just did this really big thing with my credit where I had a bad time of it for a while, and my credit score is sitting at like...
You don't need to announce it.
10 points under what I need.
Oh, yeah.
So anybody who knows is all like, well, that's low. But considering I was almost in bankruptcy, and it's not that bad, considering.
We just refinanced our house like a year and a half ago. And it was kind of interesting because they were like, well, your credit score has to be this number. And in order to get it to this number, well, for one, my credit card was paid off. So they're like, that actually hinders your credit. You have to raise your credit, but you can't raise it too much. It has to be within a certain amount. And it was literally like $113 and like something cents.
Huh.
And I'm like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, just use it for gas or something for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, are you serious? That's stupid.
I don't know. We were talking about camera equipment and things like that, and I have a gear problem. I see something and I want it. I'm working on, I think, a 5th set of vintage lenses right now.
Whoa.
Yeah. Vintage lens for every situation. And then I want to get them all rehoused. And then, I'd like some more expensive lights, then more expensive camera.
Are you married?
No.
I guess that's a good thing.
If I had been married, when I started buying gear, I would have gotten divorced. I know what would have happened. So
I know my wife would have problems with that. She hates it when I want to buy stuff for the podcast. She's like, do you need it? I'm like, well, I mean, define need.
Yeah.
So anyways, where are you from? You're not from Lansing, but you're living here now. So.
Yeah. You could say that I'm from Traverse City, or you could say I'm from Michigan. I was born in Lincoln Park. I moved around quite a bit when I was a kid. I've lived in the UP. I've lived in Alpena. I've lived Traverse City more than just about anywhere else. Grand Rapids, probably second most. When I was in the military, I was out of the state for a bit.
What branch of the military did you serve in?
I was in the Army.
Okay.
All right.
How was that?
It was the Army.
What was the experience like? Did you willingly join, or did you just kind of do it because you felt like you needed something to do? Needed direction?
A little bit of both. both. It's a really interesting story because it kind of plays into everything else. I would say that my childhood probably didn't prepare me for life very well. And I won't get into that because that's a whole other thing. But after trying and failing to go to college, Traverse City is already a place that's expensive to live, very expensive. And everything's service jobs around there. Mm-hmm. It's a tourist town, so it's difficult.
I feel like you're either rich or you're poor up there.
Yeah,
right?
that's about the way it goes.
There's really no like middle class.
I mean, there's not a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there is one, but you know,
Yeah.
most of my friends are not in the middle class, or they're trying real hard to be, and you know, they're just like they're inching along.
Right.
But you know, there's also some people there who have done pretty well. There was a person I went to high school there, and they owned a farm. I don't even remember her name, but what I will say is, like at some point when I was in high school, she came in and she's talking to her friends about how her family was going to start like this ice cream place, and everybody's all like, you're gonna be broke. That place is called Moomers. They have an award for the best ice cream in the country.
Whoa.
And they're like, every place in the Traverse City area carries it because everybody wants to carry it. So
Wow.
it's kind of like Mooville is around
I was
here.
gonna say it's like Mooville.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
So they're pretty successful now.
They are. If you go there in the summer, there is a line out the door and across their parking lot, and you know, sometimes I think even further than that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So
Big dreams.
yeah. Yeah. That doesn't answer your question at all, though.
No,
does
it doesn't.
No. So you asked when I joined the military. Well, basically, you know, I said, I'm not doing anything here. I'm not getting anywhere. You know, I need to do something. And it was actually right at the beginning of the Bush administration, which actually is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was 19 at the time, and I said, you know, we're really friends with everybody right now. Nobody's mad at us. We're going to be fine. So on, what was it, June 14th, 2001, I shipped out. Wow. And that's when I went to basic training.
This episode is brought to you by Red Bike Delivery. This delivery service operates only using battery-powered, eco-friendly transportation. Red Bike Delivery is there for all your delivery needs, whether it's dinner for the family, flowers for your partner, or new houseplants for your new collection. Red Bike Delivery will gladly deliver those and everything in between. So what are you waiting for? Check out Red Bike Delivery on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Red Bike Delivery, because there's only one Earth.
And, you know, a couple months later, yeah, we weren't really so much friends with everybody anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So I was actually...
Was that scary? Was that a scary time going through basic and everything? Because were you assuming that you were going to go to war?
Well, 9/11 happened at the end of my basic training.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it happened like right at the very end of it. In fact, I remember there's this big test that they give you toward the end where you have all these different tasks, like triaging a soldier. There's some map reading. I don't remember everything else that's on there, but anything that you have to learn that's not shooting related or book related in basic training you kind of have to do it. And we were supposed to be training for it. And the drill sergeants were crowded around. Somebody had this big truck, and they're all crowding around it. And every day they made us stand in formation for a ridiculous amount of time. We're always mad at them. We're like, why are we doing this? Turns out it's planned. They want you to learn how to stand and be quiet for a long time. Yeah. So anybody who's getting ready to join the military, you're going to be doing a lot of standing around for no reason. Yeah, and then they came over, and one of the drill sergeants was like, just so you know, privates, at 9:21 and 87, so, you know, whatever, a plane hit one of the towers, and 10 minutes later, another one hit. My drill sergeant voice, I don't want to scare anybody here. No,
you're good.
But no, honestly, trying to make light of it, but the truth is that I was terrified because... You know, everybody else was saying, "Oh, well, this is fake." They tried this on the first day of basic. You know, they pulled off a thing where they said they needed volunteers because we were going to war and they needed people to become infantry.
Whoa!
And the people volunteered, and they're like, "Oh, we're kidding." They just wanted to see how people would react, and so everybody, yeah, you know,
it's so messed up.
It's
wow.
It's basic training, but. This time, everybody was like, no, it's fake. It's fake. This isn't real. That radio's not even on. All right, well, it's playing, so it is. I think I saw a tape in it. No, this is real. It's it's in the newspapers. So yeah, I knew I was going to war that day, and I was not ready for it. I was not ready for it at all.
How did your family react?
There was a lot of worrying and some crying. I don't know. They threatened to send me to military school the entire time I was young, and I thought it was really ironic. Like, isn't this what you wanted? Like, weren't you ready for this? No? Okay.
Yeah, maybe not to that extreme.
Maybe. Maybe. But I don't know. There's not really a way to describe the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Just imagine that you take a step to better your life, and all of a sudden you have to realize that the thing that you did might end up killing you. And you're not even getting paid well.
That's true.
Yeah.
So did you go into the military with the hope and the expectation to just kind of better your life, maybe get some free education out of it, and just have some sort of course of action put in place?
That's exactly what I did.
And then that was completely uprooted.
It was. It was. I mean, it did work out that way, though. I needed some discipline. I needed to learn that hard work actually merited something. I'm kind of still on the fence about that, because I know a lot of people who work really hard and don't get anywhere because, I mean, there's a system in place for that, and it doesn't work for the people, I don't think. Not always, at least. But I did get college. I actually have 3 degrees.
Wow.
One of them's an associate, so it's not that impressive. The other 2 are bachelors, and they're basically in the same thing. So I went to Grand Valley for video production back when it was still a communication school. So I have a degree in communications or video production, whichever one you want to say. Both accurate. I don't think it's...
What's the difference?
So communication has a lot to do with communication theory. And there's a lot of different like subgenres of that, if you will. There's a thing called semiotics, which is the idea of like symbolism. Like a dollar doesn't actually have any value except for the dollar that we give it, but you see a dollar and you associate it with something. Or what's that? What is that famous picture? Is like, this is not a chair, and it's a picture of a chair. And it's,
I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, something like that. It might be a pipe or something, but basically it's an inanimate object, and it's a picture of it, and it says in the picture, like, this is not whatever it's a picture of. It's a representation of that. But if you ask somebody what that is, well, that's a chair.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what did you go to college for? Did you go to college for being a videographer?
Yeah.
Is that what you intended to do initially?
I mean, technically, I am doing it. It only took me a long time to get there. Some of that is because of effects of the military, but some of it's just because of me.
How long is that program?
Grand Valley's?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the program that you did.
So it was a 4-year program.
Okay.
I already had an associate's when I got there. I did that at Community College in Traverse City, Northwestern Michigan College. I think that their generalized courses, are better than any of the generalized courses I took at Grand Valley, because the teachers actually care and they give you time to learn. And I can't say that about all the professors at GVSU. Not that I'm going to talk bad about them. Actually, one of the best video production mentors that I know works there, at least from time to time. His name is Tom Bell. He's a great guy.
Name drop.
Yep. Hi, Tom. Yeah, their program was okay. It taught me what I needed to know to teach myself more.
Okay.
But I had already been in the military at that time. And I really kind of want to talk about a little bit of what it was like to be in Iraq.
Yeah.
Because really, I'm here to talk about some veteran issues. And the first thing is, all right, nobody really knows what it means to go to war. When we were deployed, first of all, you're supposed to not tell anybody where you're going. All right. They're worried that, people could just overhear what you're saying. You say something in the market, and then there's somebody who's from whatever country there, and they call their brother, and they say, oh, well, I live next to this military post, and I know that, these soldiers are deploying. So that's a thing.
Wow.
we found out that we were deploying because it was a story on Fox News. Yeah. We kind of had the same reaction.
Wow.
Like, oh, don't tell anybody. But the news, okay. I guess that's the logic.
Wow.
Yeah. So we found out that we were going because it was on the news. And then we spent a month in, I think it was Camp Freedom, Kuwait. I don't know. This was a while ago. So some of these names, I'm not good with names anyway. But I was with the 101st out of Fort Campbell. So we were one of the first units sent in. The infantry, went in first with, I want to say like mechanized cavalry or whoever else. We supported D Main, which is that means basically that we supported the general. We supported the upper echelon of command for this. So we didn't go in until after the fact. All of our communications equipment required, security clearances and things like that. So I won't get into that. What I will say is until like the government actually fell, they were shooting missiles at us every day. Yeah, and it sounds really scary, and it really was. But I will tell you that it got to the point where instead of getting like really, really scared about it, I was just like, why are you doing this at 1 a.m? I really want to take a nap. I'm tired. Let me sleep. And that
How
was,
accurate were they?
I don't know. So we had Patriot missiles that would shoot them down, and they're basically surface to air missile that is an anti-missile. I did see one misfire once.
Oof.
And that was a terrifying feeling because, at any point in time, you get used to the fact, okay, well, they shot a missile at us. It's not going to make it. And even if it does, we have a bunker. And then alarm goes off, we run into a bunker. You see a Patriot missile fire, and it just kind of zips around the sky.
Oh, my gosh.
And then smashes into the ground.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I think I was probably just standing there like... Yeah.
Wow.
It felt like it took about 2 to 4 minutes for another one to fire.
Wow.
It definitely wasn't that long, or else
Yeah.
the missile would have hit. But yeah, no, I actually thought I was going to die at that point.
My gosh.
And then we went to Iraq. All right, and that was after a month of them taking pot shots at us already. And the first day that I was there messed me up for the rest of my life.
You say it so nonchalantly, like, yeah, we were in Iraq and they were shooting missiles at us, and I know that was in Kuwait, but
yeah,
they're shooting missiles and then they're shooting at us every day.
A lot of it's an act. A lot of this is just me not wanting to.
No, be real. Be real.
I'll cry by the end of this, and this story actually is probably my way there. So let's. No, this is the thing that messed me up forever. Okay, and what people don't realize is, this was a terrorist organization that was really kind of in charge. So the military had gone through and they had stopped the military that was there, and it was just people. By the time we went in, they were talking about like the terrorist tactics that were done, and it was really similar to guerrilla warfare. But one of the things that they would do is they would take people, women, children, whatever, they put them in the middle of the road, and you stop because you're not going to hit an unarmed, civilian, woman, child, whatever. And then they either detonate a bomb under your truck, or somebody pops up with a rocket-propelled grenade and blows up a bunch of people. And, the Iraqis are all happy, and that's what you are. You're charred. You're done. And my first day there, we were going through a small town. They were just mud huts. But I was looking to see if there's anybody like pointing weapons out the window. And I got a little bit too far away from the vehicle in front of me. All these people cross in front of me. And so there's 20 people walking into the middle of the street, walking across the road. When they all clear, there's a kid there. And I'm still moving. The truck is still going slowly. Kid, he was young, maybe 8 years old. I don't know. And I didn't know what to do. So I remember the NCO, I'm not going to say any names, but he's in the seat next to me, and he's screaming to keep going, keep going. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to kill a kid. What if other people die because of me? What do I do? Oh, sorry.
You're good.
I got really lucky in this situation. I slammed the truck into neutral, and we were still rolling. We were still rolling pretty slowly, and I revved the engine, and the kid moved out of the way. I didn't have to kill him. I didn't have to hit him. But at that point, there's a person I know, he calls it a moral break, where you're put in a situation where your morals don't apply. I was worried in that situation that if I didn't hit that kid, that people were going to die. And I was worried in that situation that if I hit that kid, it's a kid. I don't need to explain it. And if I do, I don't need to explain it. For 10, well, even to this day, I feel guilty about not hitting that kid, and I feel guilty about feeling guilty about not hitting a kid. I put the lives of a lot of people in jeopardy, which wasn't my right to do. And at the same time, I made a choice that at least my life was worth risking over the possible innocence of a child. And it's really hard to try to explain this feeling that, because I know what I did was the right thing, but I also know that it was against what I was trained to do. I know that I really did gamble with other people's lives, and it hurts. And I am, like, still to this day, it messes me up. All right, if I'm driving down the road and like a bird or something flies into my car, I freak out. Like actually, one of the most embarrassing things is, like, I'll be driving, it'll be fall, and there'll be like leaves on the ground, little gusts of wind will take them, and sometimes they look like they're frogs.
Oh my God.
And I freak out because I don't want to hit anything. I just don't want to hit anything with my car.
That's so crazy that something where nobody got hurt, injured, can traumatize you for a lifetime, to the point where even to this day, when you're driving around, if a gust of wind blows leaves in front of you, you want to probably slam on the brakes.
Yeah. What's really messed up is that a few years ago, I was in Kentwood, and I was staying with a friend of mine, and I'm in this. It was a subdivision, and I'm just driving to get to the store. It's like a mile away. I could have walked. I was lazy.
I definitely drive when it's a mile away.
No, this truck pulls out, and it like, pushes me into the side, and I rev my engine to go around it, and they tossed a burlap bag out the window, and it gets sucked under my tire. And to this day, I'm positive that guy threw a puppy under my tire. Yeah. And I wanted to get out of the car. I wanted to smash into his truck. I wanted to rip that guy out of his driver's seat and just beat the crap out of him. No, I pulled over to the road and I sobbed. I ugly cried. I don't know.
The effects of war is so crazy that it's, my wife and I were just talking about this because I was actually reading her some of these things that you had sent me, and I'm like, this is so crazy. I mean, because you had mentioned PTSD, and it's crazy that PTSD is kind of looked at something like it's not really understood. And like obviously, like people know the effects of war and what kind of effects it has on people.
Right.
And that's obviously PTSD
Yeah. Yeah.
and trauma.
Very much so. Very much so. Um, I think most people associate PTSD with flashbacks. But I have PTSD. And actually, I do, but the VA. Yeah, that's a whole other story. So I keep bumping into this thing. I'm gonna.
You're
move
good.
This. I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
move this.
Go ahead.
All right.
You can turn that lever down
Can
to.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna bump it now.
Yeah, no, you're good.
My head is fat. All right.
There, that's good.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry. What was that question again?
No, it wasn't really a question. I think it was more of a statement on PTSD. But I want to kind of get back to what happened to you when you were in Iraq and how, because I know you had mentioned before that you wanted to talk about how children and women are used in warfare.
Yeah. It happened in Vietnam too.
Yeah.
This isn't something that was, specific only to Iraq. I would assume that it happened in Afghanistan. All right. And I will 100% say that when this happened, or when I at least realized that there was no connection between, actual Iraq and 9/11, I was very against it. But looking back at it now, I don't know if I can really fault anybody for taking power out of the hands of people who would throw a kid in front of a car so that they could kill somebody.
Yeah.
So,
but what's crazy is that people here in the United States don't know about things like that.
well,
They don't. I mean, they see it in movies and stuff, but I've never heard a story like that.
It's bad for business.
Yeah.
All right. And
I mean, do you think like if it was talked about more, people probably would be protesting, right? Children dying and getting shot and killed by U.S. soldiers.
I'd like to think so. But we've had some situations in the last, 5 or 6 years where I think that there'd be a big segment of the population that would be against it, and I think there would be a segment of the population that just wouldn't care. And that's kind of scary in itself, because while I don't necessarily, there's a weird thing about service. Okay, I don't take a whole lot of pride in my service. In fact, partially because of the child incident, I don't even like people thanking me for my service. And part of that is because I the first couple times I tried to tell people that story, the response was pretty much unanimously, "Well, I'm glad you didn't hit that kid, because if you did, I'd have to hate you."
Whoa.
Yeah. And these were
You were at a crossroads of with a moral decision. I mean, what do? You were trying to protect your men. You were commanded to keep going.
Yeah.
What do you do? What if you didn't go? Would you be punished for that?
That's an interesting statement, or an interesting question, because the military doesn't work off of rules and regulations like civilians have. They have, I don't know. Soldiers have the military code of, the Uniform Code of Military and Justice, the UCMJ. And basically what that means is that orders are legal, and disobeying orders are punishable with legal actions.
Whoa.
If you hear somebody say, I got an Article 15, that is basically a punitive punishment that is considered a legal standpoint. And to just kind of punctuate this fact, one of my friends married this punk rocker drug dealer girl. All right. Oh man. Yeah. No, she was cool. She was crazy, but she was awesome. But there was an inspection on his home one time, and she forgot to take the laminated pot leaf off their door.
Wow.
And how did it go? So his NCOs wanted to prosecute him for it, which would have been, UCMJ. They called the police, and the police came, and we're going to do something about it. And so you can't, it's double jeopardy, and
Right.
that still applies. So it went to the civilian court where they said, well, it's laminated. You can't do anything with it. We're throwing this out. And yeah, his commanders, they couldn't do anything about it because he was already innocent. So yeah, it is law. If you disobey an order, you can be tried. You can.
Now, are the commanders held accountable for their commands? Is this something that can be, I mean, obviously you're probably going through military court, so
yeah,
it's probably more biased towards them. They're not going to.
I can't tell you one way or the other if it's more biased toward them. I have heard people say that you're guilty until proven innocent in that court. So, I mean, I guess
it's like that in every court.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays, yeah. But I don't know. I don't really. I didn't have to fight anything like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, no. There's a catch-all. There are catch-all rules. Like you can be punished for disobeying an order. You can be punished for showing disrespect to a non-commissioned officer, which it doesn't specify what that means. Which means that if somebody doesn't like you, they can pretty much do whatever they want.
So you could look at somebody the wrong way and then be like, that was disrespect, or respond in a way where they didn't like, and that's disrespect.
In theory, yeah.
Wow.
You really don't have any control of your life, and let me tell you that when your NCO doesn't like you, it gets worse. Because I can personally tell you that I laid awake in Iraq. And there used to be, I guess they shoot guns to celebrate over there, so they'll shoot guns up in the air. I guess this is what I heard because we were...
Our military or their military?
Their military.
Oh.
Their military. Well, civilians, people with guns, I don't know. I didn't ever see it. I just
Barbarians.
heard it. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. They did not look like Conan, I will say. All right, not the Arnold Schwarzenegger one or the other guy.
Right.
Yeah. No. I used to lay in bed every night, and I would hear these guns firing. And I'd be like, Sergeant I is going to, if we have to flee and she needs to leave somebody behind, it's going to be me. And and I knew that was the case. There's a bunch of times when basically there used to be conversations about how nobody liked that particular NCO. But it was very common knowledge that I was the least favorite.
Wow.
And so everybody's like, yeah, well, we know that this is the case, but she doesn't pay enough attention. She doesn't pay as much attention to us because you're around.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it was.
What'd you do? Why didn't she like you?
Oh man, there's a couple of things. I don't know. I was a weird kid. No.
Why were you weird?
I don't know. I think differently than a lot of people.
Probably because you're a creator, right?
Maybe.
I mean, even though like being like a creator, like a videographer, that's how you say it, right? Videographer.
I prefer cinematographer.
Cinematographer.
They're two different things.
Okay.
Right now I am a videographer.
But but you're a creator. You create things, so you're kind of like in your own realm with things, thoughts, and
yeah. I mean, that's true to a certain point. But I mean, there's people who are creators, that are a lot more, I don't know, adapted than I was. I don't know. I did have kind of a strange childhood, and again, I don't want to. Trust me, if you want to talk about my childhood, there's a whole show there. Okay. I don't want to get into that. But yeah, I don't know. I was just different. I looked at things differently. I don't know. I like to be goofy. I think I'm a lot more serious now. So,
do you think it's your experience in the military, going into war and coming out, that made you a little bit more serious?
To a certain degree. I also taught martial arts for 7 years,
Mm.
and I got some leadership experience under my belt doing that. So I've done a lot of things with my life. It's weird. I bounced around and done a whole lot of things. I also ran the recruiting arm of the census in Michigan for like a quarter of the state or something like that.
Oh, wow.
At one point it was actually just a couple of years ago when they did this last census. I've done that. I've had some leadership experience here and there, but yeah, no, it was probably the military.
Now, when did you get out of the military?
There's actually two answers to that question. So I was in active duty, and I left active duty. It would have been June 13th, 2005, because your last day is always like a day before, like the whatever year mark it is. So if you sign up for 4 years, it's one day before the fourth year.
Okay.
But after that, I did some National Guard time. And I signed up for, I think, like 3.5 years. And the whole idea behind that is when you join the military, and this is something that like most people don't realize, you don't sign a 4-year contract, even if it's 4 years. You sign an 8-year contract, and that other 4 years is, it's basically reserve service. So once a year, you've got to go and you basically march or, whatever it is that they have you do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do that. And I also wanted more college money. The National Guard will, excuse me. Sorry, I ate on the way over here.
You're good.
The National Guard will pay a certain amount of tuition while you're in the Guard. So, it's a thing to do. But we were still at war during that time. I mean, the war on terror was not short-lived.
No, it just recently got over.
Yeah, maybe.
How does that make you feel? It's kind of seeing the way things went this last year when they pulled out, like knowing that you were over there and you had kind of an impact on the way things were, and then kind of seeing it all collapse.
I don't know if I did have an impact.
I mean, maybe not you specifically. I'm sure you did, but the people you were with. You went over there for a reason.
I went over there because I said I would, and I didn't want to. I mean, I probably could have found a way to get out of it. I was not through basic training yet. I could have come up with some excuse or did whatever, but I was going to do what I said I was going to do, and that at that point was go to war, apparently. Yeah. But I don't know. To be completely honest, I don't really pay attention to the news or anything anymore. Everything is so polarized. It's all propaganda. Everybody says one thing and then does another, and it's all politicized. And I don't want to, honestly. Okay, so here's something. It's not even on the sheet. You take an oath to defend the country from any enemy, foreign or domestic, when you join the military. All right. I had to take it again when I joined the National Guard. I had to take it again the first time I worked for the census, again the second time that I worked for the census, and then I think they had to give it to me a third time when I got promoted to running the recruiting.
Wow.
And then, because so many things were still up in the air during COVID, I worked for the Social Security Administration for a while because I wanted steady income, and you have to take the same oath then. So I've taken that oath 6 times.
Whoa.
So when I see the news and I see people who are, and it's dangerous. This is dangerous, and it's dangerous for me. But when I see, this person has done this, or, this happened on January 6th, I feel the need to do something. And the truth of the matter is, they don't want you to do anything. They want you to do what they say. And they tell you that that's defending this country, right? But
what do you mean you feel the need to do something?
I feel the need to defend my country. Okay. The Flint water crisis a couple years back, all right? It's probably more than a couple now.
Yeah.
I was out of the military at that time. I was going through a lot of stuff with PTSD. At that time. I think maybe I was just starting to find help. And poisoning kids is something that you would not do if you were working toward this country's best interest. So I very much debated how do I want to say this? Forcibly stopping the person who was in charge of the state at that point of time. I debated it, and so I don't know. There might be people. I might get black bagged tonight just for saying that. But no, I decided very specifically that.
I mean, that kind of makes you having that feeling kind of makes you a patriot of America, right? Because you want what's in the best interest for the citizens of America. And the person that was in control of that situation or any other situation that puts anybody else in harm's way, it's not truly American, right? It's not in their best interest.
You're exactly right. And yet, the people who were throwing kids in front of trucks in Iraq thought that what they were doing was in the best interest of their people.
Right.
And so there's a very difficult line.
Yeah, that's kind of something that's interesting about war is that, like, especially here in the United States, is we always look at it as like we're the good guys.
Yeah.
But we're in somebody else's country fighting on their ground, and they're there fighting us, and what they believe is right and what we believe is right.
But that's the sell. That's the sell. Like,
yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's glamorized in movies.
It is. It is. Actually, there is. It has to be. There's a deal between the military and basically Hollywood that says there's a department of the military that works with Hollywood creators. And if you're making a movie like a war movie and maybe you need 1,000 soldiers or something like that, the military will provide those for you.
Whoa.
Provided that you meet certain expectations. You have to make the military look exciting and desirable. And the people who are in charge of that, I read a story one time. I guess I don't know if this is true, but I believe it myself. There was a movie it was made about, I think it was the Cuban Missile Crisis. And there was a pilot of an American spy plane who was shot down. All right. And I could be wrong about this exact the crisis or the time of the movie, but it was made about something similar to that. And I do believe I'm right. But so this pilot was shot down. He was awarded, I think, a Medal of Honor posthumously, or maybe it was a Purple Heart. Anyway, the fact is this guy was killed. He was killed flying a mission, and it is a matter of public record. He was given an award for it. When the director who made that movie, and again, I don't remember who that is. I know I'm not giving a whole lot of specifics here.
I'll look it up.
Thank you. When he wanted to put that in the movie, he was told that it didn't happen. And he's like, well, this is a matter of public record. No, it didn't happen. And they ended up, I don't know if they CG'd it or rented a plane.
Is it 13 Days? Is it old? Like,
it's not that old.
2000?
It might be that old. Man.
Bro, that's 22 years ago.
I don't believe in age.
I don't either, but a lot of people would say that's old.
Yeah. I'm 40.
You don't look 40. You look good.
I can do a one-handed cartwheel. I can stand. If I go to the bar and I drink,
oh boy,
I will stand on my head before I go home because I don't have a breathalyzer, and I don't think there's any more fun way to figure out that you're able to drive. If I have enough balance to stand on my head, I used to not be good at it. I've gotten better at it.
You can stand on your head.
Yeah.
I almost want you to do it now.
I know. I don't know. If, I was actually going to. I don't know if there's room. I'd probably do. I'd want you to move your guitar, and you'd have to reposition the camera. So
yeah,
you know what we could do?
Do it at the end.
Yeah, could we do it at the end? Or even if you just want to record it and splice it in, you could do that. You want to do it live?
Yeah, I want to do it live.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we live right now?
Not live,
but we're
recording.
We're semi-live.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And I don't edit anything, so.
Oh, so all the times that I bump my earphone.
Yeah, no, that's in there.
Oh man,
it's authentic as possible.
Oh, well, I better not do that again.
I've had lights flicker and stuff on podcasts, so it's all right.
Yeah. No, I like your studio, by the way. I don't
Thank
know if
you.
I said that.
Thank you.
I know that I was geeking out over all your equipment and stuff here.
It's kind of been a work in progress. You know, it's something that's been progressional.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it definitely shows that you're putting some time and effort into it. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I the thing is, like, if I want somebody to come to my house and do a podcast, I want it to feel as like real as possible. I want to feel like an actual like studio.
Yeah.
And I guess I've always kind of had a studio setup, but this feels real. Before I had it like out in the living area and I had the curtains like closing off the room.
Yeah.
And it just kind of felt odd. Felt like you were in the middle of a room.
Right.
But in this room, you feel like, okay, I feel like I'm in a room.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems, and that's actually one of the cool things about technology right now is we're having this conversation and people are going to listen to it and people are going to, you all right? All right, cool. People are going to, they're going to listen to what I have to say. They're going to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
And they're going to form opinions about it. And, if you want to change the world, you do it one person at a time.
Yeah.
So this is important. You're giving the voice to the person. And
absolutely.
You said that's what you wanted to do. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the goal of the podcast is, I initially started it so I could share my story. And I told you that.
Yeah.
And so many people have come on and shared their stories and it's been awesome. Honestly, like I love hearing other people's stories. And most of the time I don't even like talking. I like to just like hear you talk. I want you to be the star of your own show.
I'm really good at talking. I can do it all day. I might not say anything, but I can talk. So
when you got out of the military, you were obviously dealing with some PTSD and everything. How did you navigate that?
Poorly. It takes a while before any of that catches up with you. I don't know how long it took me to notice things. I know that I was living with some family. I was trying to go to school, and I kept getting angrier and angrier, more jumpy, and it was like a little bit at a time. It's just one day you wake up and you're, all of a sudden you're just not the same person anymore. It's really difficult. I think most veterans that I've talked to don't think that they've done a whole lot. They don't think that they made like a big difference, and they think that they're probably a little bit better off than they are.
Like you.
Maybe.
Man, you said you went to Iraq and you didn't make an impact.
Well, yeah. I really didn't do a whole lot over there, though. There's only one thing that I did that I think was worth noting, and nobody.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I want to look at something from a different perspective.
Okay.
Because you're always talking about, I mean, not always, but you're in this podcast today.
I'm always talking.
You're always talking. I've never heard you any other time other than that one time I was talking. But each time you've mentioned how you hitting that kid plays over and over in your head, like you did something wrong, but you didn't hit him, but you almost had to make that choice to hit him, to kill him, to run him over.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe, and he's older now, maybe he thinks about you revving that engine and him running off, and maybe you actually saved his life by you revving that engine and giving him moments to actually think about it?
You know what is really messed up about that entire situation? I looked in the side mirror right before I slammed the truck back into gear. The communication shelters that we had were like these big boxes on the back of our vehicles, and we used to stick like water cans and stuff in there. The people who were there, like the kids, they were so poor, they were trying to take our water. And I don't know if they knew it was water. I don't know if they were hoping maybe it was fuel. It doesn't really matter. in essence, that kid almost died over a 5-gallon bottle of water. And today we live in Michigan, which is surrounded by all this water, which we are actually letting corporations just sponge off the lake. So, you know.
But do you think that maybe he thinks about that? Like, I could have died that day, and that soldier, he could have just hit me, but by him revving his engine and giving me a chance to run away.
Or he thinks that he was just trying to cross the road and get a thing of water, and somebody almost killed him for it. Or, I don't know. I hope.
But what I'm saying is that there's other ways to look at it other than the way that you've mentioned it on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean there are, and I hope he's doing well.
When you tell me that story, that's what I think of. You gave him a chance.
Yeah,
and you didn't have to because you were being told that you need to keep going.
Right. I mean, it's true. I don't know. It's really difficult. It's the entire time that you're in the military, the entire time that you're in training. They're telling you that your purpose is to kill the enemy, and they define who the enemy is.
Right.
It's really hard for people who first get out of the military because we are so used to this idea of like, friend or foe or whatever. And I know a lot of people. I mean, I've heard some scary stories. I actually got in a fight when I was at Grand Valley. I got in a fist fight with somebody on a movie set.
Oh my God!
Because they were a veteran, and this is when the worst part of the worst part of this whole story is I was just getting myself together, but I had anger issues the entire time that I was at GVSU. I was finally like talking to somebody, which is ridiculously hard to do. In the military, there is not really that many good VA hospitals, and I hate to put it that way. The only one that I will go to at this point is the one in Battle Creek. So Lansing is closer. Won't go to it. Traverse City one, I've had so many bad experiences there. And the one.
Why are they so bad?
A lot of little things. Some of it's bureaucracy. I do want to say that a good percentage, maybe even most of the people who work there really want to be helpful. And there's like volunteers. There's people who are working jobs and they want to help veterans. But some of the things that I could tell you about care that I've gotten there. When I go and I talk to people about my experiences in combat, the conversation, at least in Grand Rapids, with several different people has gone pretty much this way. Can we talk about the things that I experienced when I was overseas? Let's talk about your family first. Did your parents ever fight when you were a kid? Well, I mean, everybody's parents fought at some point. Well, we think that all your problems are caused by your childhood.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it's beat for beat. That like not even like I'm not taking stuff out, I'm not adding it. That is pretty much
verbatim.
Yeah. A couple words changed here and there, maybe a pause.
So they don't want to take responsibility for the damage that has been caused in war.
I mean, if they do, they're on the hook for it.
Right.
And I don't know if it's the government doing that. I don't know if it's the people who are running the hospitals. I ran into a guy one time who said he was moving to Texas because they take care of veterans in Texas. He also said that you get PTSD by going through training. And I can't verify or not verify that.
I mean, isn't that subjective though?
It is,
because PTSD is like kind of like trauma.
It really is. And it's also possible, or so I've heard, that you can experience a trauma when you are, younger, and then years later something happens and it brings it back. So, if somebody maybe dropped a gun and shot themselves or something like that, and then they're going through basic training and they are target shooting, it's possible that the sound of that can bring back the trauma of almost dying, and they get PTSD. I've heard, you can get a type of PTSD from hearing a story that is traumatic, and I might have given someone PTSD today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very possible.
it is.
Maybe I should put a disclaimer at the beginning.
I'm very sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think it's important to share these stories. I mean, and I would encourage the person who has PTSD and maybe heard this and whatever to share their story and maybe why they have PTSD.
yeah. I'd also like to say if anybody's listening and has PTSD, it's not because you're weak. It's not because you did something wrong. It's not because you deserve it. It is a reaction. It's a physiological reaction. My understanding of it is that your DNA actually even like shifts. I think some of your like old, what we might consider junk DNA or more primal DNA like comes forward.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because that becomes a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
All right. My fight or flight reflexes, whatever. I mean, they're all messed up. If I was like in a fist fight with somebody, I think I could handle that better than getting into an argument. And today that still kind of causes me problems. Sometimes I'm really good at talking to people, and sometimes I'm just not. And like being in conflicts, I can't really do it anymore.
There's a lot of dumb people too.
Oh my God, there's so many. There's so many. Like there's yeah.
Yeah, what is that? You wrote kids are stupid.
And then I wrote Pizza Hut in parentheses. All right. So one thing about veterans, and this is how this kind of applies, is that we always feel like we need to be stronger. We need to be better. We need to handle a situation if it's a bad situation. Or at least most of the veterans that I know are like that. And, I'd like to think that I have traits like that because that makes me sound, I don't know, heroic. Maybe. So, I mentioned martial arts earlier. And one of the people that I used to take class with does animal rehab up in the Traverse City area. So, this situation happened, and I was working at Pizza Hut a little bit. All right. I should mention that the film industry is not necessarily the most stable thing all the time, especially. I think one of the main reasons I said I was coming here is to talk about some of the issues that I've had with like, the response to war and combat and how it's partially affected my career. And it has over and over again, not for the better. But I was working at Pizza Hut for a bit, and it wasn't that long ago. It was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe not even that. I don't know. Time is weird. I don't know. I think most people with PTSD have problems keeping track of it the way that like when your memories are. But yeah, so there's this raccoon that's coming up to this Pizza Hut store, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. All right. But this raccoon is walking around, and it's kind of waddling weird, and it's getting really close, and it's not really scared of people. And honestly, it almost came in the door when I opened the door at one point. And I started thinking, okay, this is weird. So I called up my friend and I said, okay, well, what's going on? Why is this raccoon acting like this? And I went through all the things that I saw. And she says, well, there's a distemper outbreak. And basically what that is it has some of the symptoms of rabies. And I think she said that it basically becomes like a respiratory thing, and they die like gasping and stuff, but they lose their fear of humans first. It's contagious to dogs, I believe. I'm not an expert on this. But anyway, I'm working at Pizza Hut. This thing is kind of making circles. There's a couple other restaurants, a couple other stores. And I say something to the manager who's 19-ish. He just laughs it off. And I said, well, we need to call animal control. And he's laughing. He's like, whatever, it's fine. It's good. And I'm like, no, the raccoon is not afraid of humans right now. You can't say whether it will or will not attack a child when that child comes in. If the child you get a toddler and they see a raccoon walking up to them, I'm going to be like, oh, let me hug this. They're kids.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah.
Or somebody gets their dog infected. So, after pleading my case and being laughed at for, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 minutes, I say, well, somebody's got to take care of it. I happened to have a Hanbo, a half staff, in my car. So when I caught up to the raccoon, there was about 4 other people who thought that it was rabid that were going to kill it, and none of them had a stick. So I don't know what they were going to do, but I'm guessing it would have taken a long time to there's no reason for the animal to suffer. So I took care of it. And I was not right for a while after that. I was angry. I was defensive. And for all of the kids' parts, I want to say that they were absolutely 100% certain that I did it because I wanted to kill the raccoon. They were not supportive at all. And I'm still mad at them for that. Like, I just wanted them to call animal control. They couldn't call animal control. I beat a raccoon to death with a stick. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about that.
Do you think that had a lot to do with the effects of PTSD? And
I think what happened afterward had a lot to do with the effects of PTSD. Because I wasn't myself. Even talking about it,
did you just feel like maybe you were like a shell of yourself? Like, I mean, obviously you probably didn't feel normal. Like, what is that like? Like,
I was thinking about that today. In fact,
because like a normal, like I don't want to say normal person like me,
you
but
can say normal, whatever. I'm not
I'm not any better than you or anything. I didn't mean that, but
you don't have to be
a person who doesn't have PTSD.
Yeah,
doesn't understand that. So
right.
what is that like?
So it's probably a little bit different from every person. Here's the thing that I'm still dealing with. I've had insomnia since I joined the military. When I was in the military, my night's sleep was somewhere between 2 to 5 hours. If I was lucky, I got
Jeez.
5. I burned out my brain. Like I know I did. Like I'm sitting here talking to you, and maybe I sound smart, maybe I sound like an idiot. It doesn't even matter, because I still have trouble sleeping. If I'm in stressful situations, I still have trouble. If I get into an argument, I might not sleep that night. If I get into an argument at 10 a.m.,
Wow,
it might come back to me that night. And the issue with this is, well, first of all, you tend to work late nights in the video production industry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But even more than that, the effects of sleep deprivation on a person are terrible. And it's even worse if you have problems.
Yeah.
If you have PTSD.
It accentuates everything.
It does. So when I don't get enough sleep, I get paranoid. I get angry. I will interpret things in a more negative way. I lose my ability to be assertive when I'm not in a rage, which makes it a lot easier to get angry. I mean, there are so many things.
I mean, it makes you a little bit more irrational. I mean, for somebody who doesn't have like a traumatic background or PTSD, it makes everything. I mean, like when I go to work and I'm tired and I haven't had my coffee for the day and somebody wants to come at me with some bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not having it.
Right.
We're arguing now.
Yeah.
Now imagine that like by 10,000. Like,
yeah. So I'm actually just dealing with this because we just I'm still relatively new at the VFW home where I work, and we just had the biggest event that we have all year, and it was I've been there. My position has only existed for 2 months.
Whoa.
They created it because the director has worked with me in video production before, and he basically knows that I will basically I'll put myself through whatever to try to get the job done. And that's what I've been doing, which means that I've been working a lot of hours and I haven't been sleeping. And, then we had this event and, I worked probably 2 or 3, 13, 14-hour days in a row. And, then we needed some stuff done after that because we had a tight schedule and we were supposed to have a tight turnaround. And the people who I work with don't, the position was done with an iPhone before, or they didn't have any kind of coordination. So maybe somebody would step up and volunteer.
Wow.
So this position exists in a completely different facet. I have not been sleeping. And what scares me the most about this is that I work with some people that I think are really great people. And, the one person who I work directly with, who is just great, for as much as I know her, and we did things a little bit differently. She's like, well, can I get all the raw photos for things? And I'm like, well, they've never asked me that before. Why are they asking me that now? What is this person trying to do? Are they trying to get me fired? Do they think I did a bad job? And that paranoia starts to spiral.
Yeah.
And everything that and it's rough because I know that these are good people and I know they're trying. I know that everybody has their flaws, and I know that I don't want to dislike people and I don't want to be afraid of people. Incidentally, working in the film industry, you do meet a lot of people who are kind of narcissistic. So the worst part is when you're like worried that you're just being paranoid about something, and so you don't back away from it. that has cost me several times. Time, money, respect, because then you're on their radar, and if they actually are like narcissists or they have narcissistic tendencies, they want to go around and tell everybody that you did something terrible.
Yeah.
When, in reality, you're just like protecting yourself.
Well, they always seem to exaggerate the situation to make themselves look better.
Yeah, or they just turn it around. I've got an old phone in my car that I'm keeping. It's for self-defense purposes because one of the producers that I worked with.
It's not in your car.
Nope, it's not. It's actually really not anymore. It was at one point. But no. The producer took money that somebody gave him for a project, invested it in something else, and then tried to make me buy all the backup hard drives, and I wouldn't do it. So
was it for something big?
Kind of. The money went to a bigger project, and that person actually just got thanked for something that they did, and talked about what a great creator that they were. Whoa. And yeah, I think it was funny because I knew that I had to stop working with that person when they basically would start saying things like, "What I really want to happen is I'll just write the checks, and Travis can do all the producing." Basically, I know people with money, so I won't do anything, and Travis can do all the work.
Wow.
And then every now and then it'd throw around, well, you probably won't get paid a whole lot right in the beginning. There won't be a lot of money to go around.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, that kind of thing. And by the way, if Tom, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I was told specifically, like, don't go on and talk about stuff like that because, what happens, people just associate you with like bad things that have happened.
Yeah.
And they'll judge you for that. The truth of the matter, is I'm not going to say any names. But I know that there are stories out there about like what's going on. And I know that everybody who worked
stories as in like news stories.
No, there's stories.
They're just rumors.
Yeah, things circulate. People talk.
Yeah,
people talk. No, I have managed to work with a bunch of people that are not great in the industry, And every time I do, I have to turn around and I have to fight my way back uphill. And the worst part of that is that I actually think that I am more prone to doing things like that because, I've got this thing where it's I'm a veteran. I've been to war. I can keep going. It doesn't matter if this happens because I am a veteran and I can survive this and I'm not going to stop. And a lot of times I have ignored some really big red flags in people that I've worked with just because I'm like, no, I can get this done. I never have to talk to that person again. Usually those projects don't get done. So you end up spending a whole lot of time and money on them. And I don't know. There's only so many times that you can talk to a producer who's like, oh, I would have answered the phone when we had our meeting. But I scheduled it during my shit time, of the day. Yeah. Like, so basically you're saying that you scheduled me when you knew you were going to take a shit.
So how long ago was it that you were working for a production company?
I mean, technically I have my own LLC.
Okay.
But I've worked for different productions. Like,
what is your LLC for?
So it's Visionary Media Productions.
Okay.
And it is basically it's a general all around production company. I don't,
as in like what? Like you produce like commercials?
I've done a whole lot of different
social
things.
media stuff?
Some social media, some commercials. I've done some nonprofit things. That's how I got the job that I do now. I've done some short films. I am working right now. I have a film that I've been working on for a while called Indigo Blood. It was supposed to be a grindhouse film. It was supposed to be part of a bigger production where a bunch of us got together and we all wrote our short stories. And I actually helped coordinate so all the stories fit together. It was me and one other writer who did that. And there were some creative differences, and I decided that I was better off. I decided that I was more comfortable taking it and trying to do it on my own. And so now I'm in the middle of trying to actually find other people who want to either write part of the story or direct part of the story. There's a guy named Trevor Norkey who I went to Compass College of Cinematic Arts with. That was the other college that I went to. And he's a writer. He's a good writer, actually. At one point, he was probably one of the top content creators back when both MovieWeb and Screen Rant were still doing like written stuff before they switched to all video.
Wow.
So he said he's been flown out to like premieres of Marvel movies and stuff. And
Whoa.
I guess he's met Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson. So he would tell stories like that. But he's working on some of his own stuff right now. But he is working on a part of this story. And to me, it's really important to have other people work on this for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want to do something just all on my own. I like working with people. I like working as part of a team. And the other thing is because I worked with other people to write part of this, just to separate my writing from their writing, like they can take anything that I used and that I gave them. That's fine. My character is mine. That story is mine. Everything else is theirs, and I hope it works out for them. The rest of the story is going to have to be altered a little bit, which means I'm going to have to alter mine a bit. And if somebody else writes it or somebody else helps write it, then that pulls the legal pressure away from me.
Mm.
I'm trying to be smart about it. But it also works out because I do want to work with other people. That's actually one of my favorite parts of making movies is that it's a collaborative art form.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about how the director is so great, but the truth of the matter is
there's a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The director has to have a director of photography. If the director is lucky, they will have an art director because art directors are just crazy important. Like all the little stuff that you see in movies that you you wouldn't notice in the background. You can thank an art director for that. And, no matter, like, you think of, like the Lord of the Rings movies with all the different cultures and stuff there. Now, it is quite possible that all that stuff was meticulously thought out and sketched specifically by Peter Jackson, that he was all like, well, let's make the dwarf stuff like all geometric, and then we'll have the elves all, live in trees, and it'll be like natural and all curvy, like,
right.
Like nature, and then Mordor is just going to be pointy and spiky. Maybe he did all that himself. I'm guessing that there was some help in there, because, I mean, when you're imagining that much stuff, when you have to build an entire world, it's really hard to do on your own. And there's if you can say, well, something in this genre, what do you think of this, and you have somebody like bring you some sketches and you're like, I like this one best, let's go with that,
right?
That's teamwork, and you're still going off the director's ideas,
right?
Yeah,
that's interesting. I never actually really thought about that.
Yeah.
All the different aspects of like what goes into a movie.
I mean, sit and watch the credits, and there's
yeah. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and 1,200 names or maybe more. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who work on films.
That's crazy. So what are your dreams or goals for working in that industry?
I want to change the world.
You want to change the world?
I want to change the world.
How so?
Pretty easy, right?
By doing podcasts.
By doing podcasts. Yeah. So the right image shown to the right person at the right time can change the world. Change the world one person at a time, one mind at a time. If I can make somebody look at something in a different way, if I can get someone to look at something in a different light, maybe that person grows up to become president, or maybe somebody who's actually important and not politically bought.
Right.
There are some people who are not politically affiliated that have done really, really great things. I mean, if you hear stories about, and even sometimes, celebrities, there's 100 stories about how Keanu Reeves, I don't know how he has any money left. He just gives it all away. And Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, he saved, was it like a sex trafficking? There's something to do with sex trafficking.
Yeah, he works with, I think, the FBI specifically. Yeah. And like it's not something that he did, it's something that he does. I guess he's recently has like turned down films for it.
Wow.
Which basically means he's turning down millions of dollars. So good on him.
Kim Kardashian. People give her shit, but hey, she saved people from getting the death penalty.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Here, let me look it up.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I'm actually really happy to hear this.
Yeah, I mean, people give her shit, but
yeah.
I don't know how to word it. Let's see here. Yeah, she's freed prisoners.
Okay.
In a twist of fate that many people never expected from anyone in the Kardashian-Jenner family, Kim Kardashian West has been on the path to becoming a lawyer and a prison reform advocate the last few years. On Sunday, April 5th, her new justice documentary titled Kim Kardashian West, The Justice Project, comes out on the Oxygen Network.
Huh.
The documentary is all about her involvement in and advocacy for prison reform. As a public figure, she spent the last few years trying to bring national attention to the cases that have been overlooked and people who should be freed from their sentences. The new documentary details how Kardashian West... Oh, come on. There's an ad.
Oh, I hate that.
I know. How Kardashian West... Where was I?
Details how Kardashian West
first started her quest to become a lawyer and who she's helped in an effort to change the criminal justice system so far. Yeah. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it goes on. I could read the whole article, but.
So, is it possible that Kim Kardashian is kind of like, I don't know if this is a great comparison, but like Dolly Parton is like, she's really smart, I think. And you still hear things about her. Like she's apparently very altruistic, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that she just capitalized on her boobs. And then she used that and, did some good business stuff with it. Now she gives away like money and helps people.
She's a singer too.
She can sing, which is a talent. Yeah. No, but I mean that is true though, right? Is
Yeah.
that and so there's going to be a bunch of Dolly Parton fans who are going to be like, I kind of am not pissed off at this guy now. Like he did say good things about her, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really cool when celebrities use their position to make an impact in the world, because I think it's so easy to get kind of caught up in like being up on the pedestal and thinking you're above everybody. You don't need to focus on the person that's sitting in a prison cell or a jail cell.
Yeah,
And when you're literally could be fed grapes and be fanned with a leaf all
yeah,
day long, you choose to help other people that are below you. I think that's incredible,
yeah. It really is.
and that changes the world.
It does. It does. Yeah, I wanted to do something like that. I'm hoping that I'm still going to be able to at some point. We'll see. I guess what wasn't like J.K. Rowling like 40ish when she did the Harry Potter stuff,
Yeah.
and now she's a very divisive person.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go that route.
What did she say? I can't remember. Trans women are not real women or something like that.
Something to that effect. Yeah. Yeah. I've also heard a couple of people say that that the goblins in her books are basically representative of the Jewish people, which I don't think that they're painted in a great light, at least not physically. I mean, they're goblins.
Right.
I don't know if that's true.
We're just throwing some shit out there.
Yeah. Well, if it's not true, I definitely don't want to say something like that.
Right.
But if it is true, then I mean, honestly, shame. Like
Yeah.
that's not okay. Yeah.
So real quick, let's talk about what you're doing right now for the VFW. You have a mission statement.
Yeah. Are we wrapping up here? Because
Yeah. How long have we been going? An hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
We could talk forever.
We really could, and we haven't gotten to everything on this list yet, by
No.
the way. Before we actually do that, I would like to take a moment and actually revisit something. It was a powerful story that somebody told me, and it kind of fits into what we were just talking about. So I have this friend, and I'm not going to say their name, but he is also a veteran, and he told me this story the other day, and we were actually having a conversation not too long before this about how there were a bunch of interpreters in Iraq that probably saved my life or his life or definitely other soldiers' lives by basically saying we want to help the American people, and they became targets, and we offered a lot of them and their families the ability to come over to America. We did not, as a country, follow through on that, and a lot of those people have had, like them or their families have been killed.
Wow.
All right, and so we were talking about this, and I was really surprised when, like a little while later, we were having a conversation, and he's talking about how he doesn't trust, like Middle Easterners or Muslims, and I was very thrown aback by that statement. And of course, my first thought was, well, that is, some racism right there. And I asked about it, and I think we started to get into like an argument about it. And he told me the story. He was apparently at like a detention camp where they held prisoners. Okay. I guess a lot of them were considered maybe political prisoners. And again, I wasn't going to give any details about this. But what he said was that they would confiscate letters every now and again, and there'd be people's names from the guards there, the people who were working there, the Americans that were working there, and they're sending out the names to people in the terrorist organizations. And, they would get threats, we're going to find and kill your family. And so, while first of all, let me very plainly say that I haven't like ever had any issues personally, except for possibly, in combat with anybody who's Muslim. And I'm not trying to speak out against that faith or anything like that. I honestly, there are good and bad people in every faith. You can't judge
Oh, believe me, I know.
Yeah.
I've had people on that were part of a Baptist like
Oh,
cult, and
oh,
I grew up Baptist, so
yeah.
I get it. Yeah, there's definitely extremists in every religion.
There are. So please don't, think and
Yeah,
please don't use this as a way to, as a reason to judge people who from the Middle East.
right. We're not racist here.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just want to make sure the listeners,
Yeah,
don't.
no, you're good.
But anyway, he's got a family. He's got kids. And I mean, you never know. He says that that some of the threats that came out basically said that his name was on a website, that our names are on a website.
Whoa.
And I don't know. I mean, on one hand, you need to listen to that and believe it if somebody tells you that. On the other hand, the same people at one point tried to demoralize troops by dropping flyers saying that our girlfriends were home sleeping with Bart Simpson, which I hope is not true. I hope that's not true because paper cuts are painful. But yeah, no, I if I was in his shoes, I would probably be very wary, of Middle Eastern folk too. And the sad thing is, it's not his fault. It's not their fault. Or you're not.
What's that noise? Is that upstairs?
I think so.
Huh. Okay.
They
Sorry.
found me.
I'm sorry.
They found me. Everybody get down. Yeah, it's not his fault. It's not their fault. Again, and the vast majority of I think the Middle Eastern people probably don't support that kind of thing. It's murder is definitely frowned upon in most every real religion, I will say. Every real religion, I will say. And it's basically there are basically facets of that religion that basically said be nice to people. So, but on the other hand, there are people who use that kind of thing as an excuse to hate people and kill. So, and you never know which one it's going to be. And when it comes to kids and family, yeah, I guess I'm just going to say I it's definitely a prejudice. It's something that he's aware of, but there's a reason behind it. And I don't believe that it's, like actual racism as you would see. I think it's something that soldiers, certain soldiers, I didn't have to deal with that. But he does. So, all right. I want to put a little caveat in here because, I'm about to talk about the VFW National Home. And first of all, my opinions do not represent anything that they say or stand for. All right. So please don't be all like, well, I'm still offended by what this guy just said about Muslims. So, I'm, screw the home. Please don't, because, that's something that I said, and hopefully I was nice about it because, again,
I think it's interesting because it gives, because here in America, we're supposed to be so accepting of everybody. But
supposed to be.
We're supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yeah.
I mean, we're obviously not. But it's strange. It's interesting because, like some people have prejudice towards Muslim people just because of their religion.
Yeah.
And this guy, from the sounds of it to me, sounds like he's afraid. Like, it's not necessarily, I mean, it's prejudice.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a safety concern in a sense. It's not necessarily like a true prejudice.
Well, he
says in the same fashion, if you were to be overseas in Iraq and you're constantly looking around at the people around you, wondering which one of these people are going to attack me.
I used to lay in bed thinking that I was going to get killed, like every night, because they were just shooting off guns and I didn't know if they were attacking or not. And that's a thing. He's still got that fear. And I asked him if I could talk about this today. I did. He says that he's trying to deal with it. It's something that he's trying to deal with. He's trying to focus on.
Did he ever find out if it was real? If there was a real list?
He believes it is. He definitely believes it is. And honestly, if I was going to say anything about that, I would say that he should keep believing that it's real, because I mean, if it's not real, whatever, and that's a little bit damaging toward him, hopefully he doesn't take it out on innocent people.
Right.
If he starts doubting it for a second and it is real and one of his children dies, he's never going to be able to. He'll never forgive himself, first of all, and
I'd change everybody's names. Change everybody's names. Move.
Why didn't I? Why didn't he think of that? Yeah, maybe he can. I don't know. Anyway, but moving on from there, I know you want to wrap up here. I don't want to keep you too.
No, you're good. You're good. I just try to keep it around an hour. So
yeah. Before I talk about the national home, do you have any question about anything specifically that's on this list? Is there anything that looks really interesting that you want to? We hit on a lot of it. We hit on possibly even most of it, but
yeah, there's definitely most of it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess without going too detailed, how did you manage to kind of overcome some of these things? The PTSD obviously is something you still kind of struggle with, and I know you did martial arts for a while. Did that help?
Oh my God, that saved my life. So there's a couple of things. First of all, drugs.
What kind of drugs?
So MDMA. I've tried a couple of times. And
was that like in a clinic, or did you do it on your own?
That is something that they're working on. They're talking about. By the way, this is all alleged. So if you're a police officer listening, or if you work at the VFW National Home, know that I'm not telling the truth right now. And if you don't work there, I am absolutely just listen to what I'm saying. I won't say that I'm telling the truth, but wink, wink. So I mean, that's ecstasy. It's ecstasy.
Yeah.
It's psychedelic.
Yeah.
And what I'll say about that is when the world was at its ugly, when I was, really at a bad point, it let me see that there was still beauty in the world. That being said, they are actually looking at uses for that as a treatment for PTSD.
I thought they were. I thought they were doing it.
I don't know if
I thought MAPS was doing it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Wait a minute. MAPS?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Hold on. I'm going to look it up.
Okay. I just talked to somebody today who works for an organization called MAPS, so it's the same thing. I don't think it is, though. Okay,
so MAPS is a multidisciplinary association for psychedelic studies.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that is not the same place that my friend works, but yeah.
But yeah, they're working with soldiers to help with PTSD and all kinds of other stuff.
I think it's still in experimental stages, though.
Yeah, it might be.
It's kind of like the cannabis prohibition that they had, where it eventually it might be something that's more mainstream, but
yeah.
Like right now, I'm almost positive that the federal government won't support it.
No.
I mean, the federal government doesn't even support cannabis. It's still federally illegal.
Yeah.
So if, like if you go into the VA, and you are taking cannabis for like anything like sleep to help with your sleep, I mean, you really shouldn't talk to doctors about it. They might know about it. They might be able to tell. Hopefully not. If I talk to anybody about anything that I have done in the past, or even currently still do, I'm like, don't put that in your notes. And there's only one hospital that I'll even talk to anybody about most things at. And again, Battle Creek. If you are a veteran, you need to go to Battle Creek.
You can just choose which one you want to go to.
Not really, but they're not going to stop me from going. So it's right now it's not too much farther than Lansing, so it's not that big of a deal. And I can even make a case for the pay, because of like if you have to travel a certain amount of time, like they'll pay your mileage.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons that you can't just go wherever you want, because why not go to Texas?
Right.
Why not go to Alaska?
Right.
Got my mileage paid for. But yeah, so there was some of that. Martial arts helped a lot. The VA wouldn't help me like with any mental health. Like they wanted me to see a social worker, but that didn't. I mean, basically just listen to my problems. And most of that was modern stuff that was caused by like PTSD. It was like me being mad at people,
right?
or me not being able to hold down a job at one point, or you know, whatever else. So I actually want to create a martial arts program, like a really shortened one, to help veterans, because what my Sifu did, was, first of all, it's a lot of mindfulness, and mindfulness. You may be familiar with what mindfulness meditation or mindfulness therapy is. So, you know, basically you just kind of focus on yourself for a little bit, and I think part of it is you take yourself out of a situation, and you kind of gain a certain amount of self acceptance or self knowledge of what's going on at that moment, because like I've caught myself, like clenching my fists and getting ready to be really upset, and I'm like, no, nope, can't do that. And it's not one of those things. So that's really helpful. But it also has a lot to do with aggression control. And when I got out of the military, you learn hand to hand stuff, but a lot of it is really, really like brutal or lethal.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I remember when I first got out, I was like, well, if I get in a fight, I can just rip somebody's eye out, and I've won the fight. All right. When somebody bumps into you at a bar, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I came close at one point in time. All right. And I'm sure everybody here is going to be like, this guy is so violent. This guy is so angry.
This guy's crazy.
No, I work really hard not to be, though.
No, I understand.
Like honestly, people to me are like the most important thing in the world. And I've never actually hit anybody out of anger since I think I was in high school was the last time.
Oh, okay.
And I have gotten in a couple of fights since then. I've avoided many more. The two fights that I have gotten in, one of them, I stepped between this drunk guy was at a party and he was about to beat on his fiance.
Whoa.
I stepped in front of that guy. And then the other one was, there was another soldier who had some issues, and it was after I got out, but we were on a film set, and he'd been screaming at people for like 2 weeks. The project wasn't going the way that he wanted to. He was the director. It was a school project. And he didn't like it when I asked for the female talent's email, because I was, looking for talent. Like that was specifically, the whole reason. And I asked for email, not a phone number. I was trying to be really professional about it. But he didn't like me. We didn't get along already, because I was, at that phase where I was starting to get like all zen and like, don't yell, don't be mad. And he's like screaming about everything every other day. I had been like that about 3 months prior. I was like just out of that phase myself. But he pinned me up against the wall. He was like screaming at me. And he's just like, he's got my collar and he's like, this is my set. I'm in control. What are you going to do about it? And I was just like, what am I going to do? Got it. Yeah. And I'm not sorry about that.
Yeah.
I do hope that guy got help. Like at the time, I didn't think too much of him. And it was actually the first, I'd been teaching martial arts for a while at that point. It was the first real fight that I got into. And that was actually a really interesting situation, because he kept getting angrier and angrier. And after I threw that first punch,
Checked him.
I didn't throw another punch. Like I punched him and he was just angry, and he like tried to punch me like 4 times, and I blocked them all. I blocked 3 out of the 4. The last one didn't hurt. Like he just hit me and I'm like, that was nothing. What is this guy even doing? And then he started like trying to grab me and like throw me around, and like I'd just be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna poke you in the eye and I'll spin you around. I'll kick your knee out from under you, and then I'll step away. And it got to the point where he was, he's all like, I'm going to go get a gun and I'm going to kill you. And, just to explain why I hadn't left yet, all of the gear that we were using, and it was probably $10,000 to $15,000 of gear. And I was a poor college student at that point in time. That was all checked out in my name. So if he decides that he wants to get revenge on me by setting it on fire or stealing it or, throwing it off a cliff, whatever, like I'm there, and I'm telling him I'm going to pack the stuff up. I'm like, look, I'm just going to pack the stuff up and I'm going to go. And then he tells me that he's going to kill me. And I realize like I'm pulling a knife.
Oh.
All right. When I was in martial arts, I used to carry a knife on me quite a bit. I don't anymore. But I was like pulling a knife, and I realized at that point, I'm like, he doesn't have a gun. The knife is halfway out of my pocket, and I'm like, he doesn't have a gun. I don't need to defend myself. And the knife goes back in my pocket, and I'm like, well, I guess it's time for me to go. yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Just don't break my stuff. Bye. Yeah, and I took off, and that was, I called the teacher, and I realized what happened when I was talking to him. He's all like, "You're bragging about beating up one of my students." I'm like, I didn't even, like, I punched him, but I busted my hand on his jaw. So, like, I was bleeding really bad, and he had a toothache.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so, I mean, the guy couldn't hurt me, but I could definitely hurt myself on him.
Right.
Which it's kind of embarrassing to even say that, too. But no, I got blamed by that for that at Grand Valley. Like, everybody, I remember, like, people would, they'd come up to me, like, different teachers would be like, "You're violent. You shouldn't have hit that guy." And I'm like, he had me pinned up against the wall. I don't care.
Wow.
And I remember thinking,
violence is not the issue, or not the solution.
Well,
sometimes it's necessary though, especially if you feel endangered.
Yeah. Well,
if you're pinned against a wall, you definitely should probably react.
He crossed my line. See that, and that's the big thing. That's, talk back to the martial arts thing. We learned basically you draw your line in the sand, and you figure out what you're going to do when somebody crosses it. And, for different situations, like Sifu basically says, if 4 people break into my house, and, I've got kids and stuff here, I'm not going to ask questions first.
Yeah.
Because he has kids, and why are there 4 people in his house like that?
Right.
Seriously, that's lethal, like intent right there. I get that. If somebody gets mad because you're at a bar and you spill a beer on them or something like that, I mean, that's
different.
Yeah, you don't rip somebody's eye out for that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely different.
Yeah.
But if somebody has you pinned against a wall and they're yelling in your face, they're
daring you to do something.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're pushing you to.
I want to say that there's been a couple of times where I had people who were like friends of friends that I didn't get along with that have been over my house inexplicably, and I tell them to leave and they refuse, and I hate the police. Like, I always end up in a situation where, and please take that with a grain of salt, because I really don't like the police, but I don't, hate is probably a strong word.
You dislike their practices?
I don't trust them at all. I have called the police several times for different situations. Every time, like, has been, oh, well, I got robbed, or my neighbor got in a fight with her boyfriend and he pulled a knife on her, so he runs up to my apartment. And every single time I end up having to answer to the police for, whatever. I don't know. I got robbed one time, and the cop, he arrested my friend on like a 7-year-old warrant. And like, the only reason it hadn't met the statute of limitations is because apparently my friend had moved to Florida for a couple of months.
Wow.
And like, it was that amount of time, like 3 months, that it was under the statute. And the entire time before we arrested him, he's sitting there. This is up in Traverse City, by the way. And he's all like, "Well, which one of you has the warrant?" And we're just looking at each other like, "What?" He's like, "One of you has a warrant. Why do you have a warrant?" And I'm like, "I don't think I do." "You don't think? What have you been doing?"
Oh my gosh.
"Nothing, but apparently one of us does." He doesn't think he does either. Like, you can't even call the cops anymore. You can't. They want to arrest you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of have an impossible job too. You know, I mean,
it's that is true.
Kind of like some of the same situations you were put in Iraq. They're put in that in their own homeland.
That is true. And
they kind of feel like they're a target no matter what they do. Like, I mean, and I understand that they should respond betterly. They should treat people better, for one, and they should respond to situations better. But that being said, what kind of PTSD and trauma are they dealing with also?
That's true. But at the same time, if I call them, don't try to make me a villain.
Yeah,
right?
No, and I think that's a problem with policing, like the whole system in general. I think that the way they train people, that's the way they train people, is like kind of like the military.
Yeah, it is getting more militaristic, and
everybody else is the enemy. When somebody calls, they're the enemy.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. Like I do have respect for the police. I personally don't want to call them.
Yeah, I understand. And
there was a whole reason that I was saying that. I don't remember what it is. We got in this, the little rabbit hole. But I don't know. I'm sure that it's relevant. Basically, there was probably a situation where, I ended up calling the police or something, and it had something to do with PTSD, and it was bad.
Yeah.
No, I blackmailed the city to get out of a speeding ticket one time.
Oh my gosh.
I was on the phone with I was on the phone with a reporter, and we were talking about he'd been embedded with my unit in Iraq, and he called back to ask people like later on, just talk about how they were doing. And I hit a patch of black ice, rather hit the car in front of me. I turned off I was on an exit ramp, and I went down a hill and I nicked a tree with my car. All right, and the cop pulls up, and I'm trying to leave, and I can't get out of the little, I guess, impression. Yeah. My car won't get out of it, and he's like, well, who did you call? And I'm like, I didn't call. I mean, I called a tow truck. All right, well, it's an accident.
Oh,
how is it an accident? Well, the tree has a mark on it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And no, he tried to look in my car. I wouldn't let him, and he threw me in cuffs because he said I was attempting to leave the scene of a crime. That's not actually a crime to attempt to leave the scene of it. Basically, they're saying, well, you wanted to go, but you're incompetent at doing it, so we're gonna.
Right.
So he had me in handcuffs in his car for 20 minutes, and he screamed at me about how he hated his job. He did a search on me, stuck his hand down my pants, and
What?
yeah, no, he rooted around until he found some sack. And
Seems like he likes his job.
he likes soldiers, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, no. Grand Rapids apparently has a prosecutor for traffic tickets, and this is years later, so I feel like I can say this now, everybody. I walked into the prosecutor's office, and he's like, "Well, you're going to pay this ticket." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm a soldier." And he stuck his hand down my pants, and he felt my junk. The city, like, everybody will be happy to hear about this story. And if you let me off the ticket, I will just be quiet. So I got a letter in the mail on the day I was supposed to appear in court, and it said that they were, how was the wording? It was beautiful. So basically they're like rescinding the ticket, and the cause was, or the reason was, in pursuit of justice. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. I still haven't talked about the VFW National Home.
Yeah.
It's a great place. They house veterans. It's been around for almost 100 years. And they've had several different missions. And let me get that mission statement, and I'll read it, and then I will be out of your hair so you can go be with your family.
Oh, you're good.
The VFW National Home assists military veterans and their families with children by creating a foundation of services and resources to achieve their personal and family goals in order to move forward in a positive, safe, and healthy environment. And once again, my opinions and everything that I say do not reflect on the VFW National Home. If my boss ever listened to this, I never, ever, ever tried MDMA. Don't know what you're talking about.
Would they really hold you accountable for that stuff?
Probably not. As long as I, as long as this isn't something that I would do currently, which I don't.
Yeah.
All right. But
that's one thing I always found ridiculous about employers. Like things that you've done in your past, they're going to go to your social media. They're going to find anything they can on you and then hold it against you.
Yeah, they can't. Well, yeah. I mean, if the world that we live in now, though, like one person says, something really disparaging, and the entire company can be on the hook for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But, at the same time, you really shouldn't be hating on people for no reason. So
yeah. I mean, that goes to cancel culture. I hate cancel culture. Absolutely hate it.
How old are you?
28.
You're 28.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Why is that interesting?
I was just reading this thing about Generation X, and technically I'm like a millennial, but I'm like the first year that you can be considered a millennial. So I'm like a Gen Xial, Millennia X. I don't know. And it talks about this post. This guy talks about like ways that you can appeal to members of Generation X, and he's like, well, people hate corporations, so don't necessarily like deify a corporation or anything like that. And I was looking, I was like, that all fits me because I'm like right in the middle. So I have certain millennial traits. All right, avocados are delicious.
I love avocados.
I know, they're so good. But I also have a lot of like Gen X traits. So when I was younger, they always, would tell us, if you don't like the way a corporation is doing business, if you don't like the way that they're treating you, then your money is as good as speech. Like you can tell them by boycotting their stuff. And now that's called cancel culture.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. And I think it's a really interesting, like, divergence in the way that we look at things now.
Well, I think it has more to do with the fact that because we don't necessarily boycott companies and their products.
I do.
Yeah, but not many people do. There's not
That's true.
movements behind it.
That is
I
true.
mean, people still buy iPhones and they know where they come from.
Are you talking about the
What?
Foxconn?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why aren't we boycotting that? I
We
mean,
should.
I just bought a new iPhone.
I
I'm nasty. I'm a dirty person.
This is Samsung, and it probably also came from Foxconn.
Yeah, you're just as bad.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit too.
I know. I know. Every day. Every day.
But the thing is like, there's so many things that we all agree to. But then when somebody says something that is, you know, something that they don't agree with, then that person should be canceled or boycotted or whatever you want to call it.
Well,
And they want to ruin their career over it.
to a certain degree, though, like there is. Think about it this way: what if Germany had canceled Hitler?
Yeah, but is there anybody that's a Hitler today in America?
Okay, let's not get into this conversation because, yeah,
I mean, unless we're talking about like white nationalists or something.
that's
But-
exactly. I don't want to get into that because that
But-
makes me angry.
But my point is like whenever somebody talks about something that's controversial that you don't necessarily agree with, like whether it's COVID or politics or something, like for instance, I'll use myself as an example. I interviewed a guy on the podcast a few weeks ago. His name's Ryan Kelly. He's running for governor. Just a conversation, like how you and I are having. Like I just wanted to get to know him. That way, like the general public can like see him just as a person, not necessarily his politics.
Okay.
And the hatred that came my way was ridiculous. People were sending because I posted in a couple of Facebook groups. People were sending the moderator like posts like in messages about how that I shouldn't be allowed to post on there. People were saying that I just want attention, and other people were just the hatred. It was amazing. And just because somebody doesn't agree with somebody, and hold on, the thing is like I hadn't even posted the episode yet. I just promoted the episode. I posted a picture of him and then I said, you know, this episode's going to be airing tomorrow, and the hatred came. And then people were messaging the moderator, telling her that she needs to take my stuff down. They can't believe that she's allowing this on the platform and this white supremacy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely ridiculous.
So, first of all, I don't necessarily think that all of the I'm guessing this person was on the Republican side of the fence.
Yeah, I mean, there's Governor Gretchen Whitmer's running unopposed, so they're all Republicans.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So who am I going to interview?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But the thing is, I announced that I'm also going to be interviewing other Republicans, not just him.
Right.
But, you know, I understand the problem that they had with this guy. You know, he's a Republican. Which for some reason, if you're a Republican, that equates to being like pro-Trump and pro like white supremacy and all this other stuff. But I understand the controversy with this guy because he was at the January 6th thing. He has a big TikTok following that is you know, pretty controversial. So I understand the controversy around it. But
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with having a conversation with somebody.
You can't. Well, you also can't ignore that kind of thing either. I mean, I don't know. Even I don't think this is the right like way to put this, but you know, even like those old Warner Brother cartoons that you see. Have you ever watched? I mean, those things. There's some stuff in there that really shouldn't be shown. You know, like Heckle and Jekyll, and like there's some where they basically have animated blackface. Like some of that stuff is just really bad.
Yeah.
And they still show that on TV today. And there's a disclaimer before it that basically says this was created in a time that was absolutely horrible and really nobody should be exposed to this.
But we're still going to show it.
If we ignore it, then it is the same as denying that it ever happened. Now, that being said, I mean, maybe they're still just trying to make money off of it. That's fine, whatever. Well, it's not, but you know, I mean, nobody's gonna. I can't stop that.
Yeah,
but they're also right. You know, you can't ignore history. You can't ignore things. You can't ignore white supremacy and hope it's going to go away.
Yeah,
you really just can't. We can still hope it goes away. You can't just ignore it because at the end of the day, you know, I do think that's a threat to this country.
I think a lot of things are a threat to this country.
Oh yeah.
I think rioting and looting is a threat to the country. When all that was happening in 2020, that was scary. It's a threat to our local government, our local businesses, our local business owners, our local community.
That's true. That is true.
Regardless of ideology, regardless of political beliefs, regardless of everything. I mean, I think a lot of things are just a threat, and I think that cancel culture is a threat. I think that when you don't give somebody a place to come and talk, and you just want to silence them and not include them in the conversation, that allows for echo chambers to happen. That allows them to go and start their own podcast and then allow all these other people who agree with them to congregate in one area. And then that's when you end up with situations like January 6th.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But if you can include them in the conversation and, by other people hearing what Ryan Kelly has to say and his beliefs and why he's running and some of the things that he wants to see change, then that can make somebody, if they listen to it, they could be like, oh, I don't want to vote for him. I don't want him as our governor.
That's true.
And that's the whole point of the podcast.
I really do hope that is what happens and what comes out of it. And I hope that people, if you've helped avoid somebody like that getting a bigger foothold, that people, actually acknowledge that.
But I mean, on the other hand, it could, some people might be like, I like that guy. What do you do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could keep bringing up television theories that actually explain that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was supposed to be like a bad parody of what like a white nationalist was like, and he actually had a following. Which is kind of crazy. Stephen Colbert actually was kind of the same way, where it wasn't like white nationalism, but it was like a parody of a republicanism that he did on his show. And there was like a certain percentage of the population that no matter what he said and how ridiculous it sounded,
they agreed with it.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, this guy knows where it's at. Yeah. And the rest of us are just laughing. Like,
yeah.
Oh, he's just making a joke. Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, people, I don't know. I think I said something about people sucking or something on here somewhere.
You said kids are stupid.
Well, in large numbers, everybody's stupid. Like that. That seems to be human history, right?
Yeah, we're all stupid.
We are.
Yeah, but we're all learning.
Hopefully.
Some of us are not.
All right.
Let's end this thing.
Yeah, because we could talk all night.
Yeah.
Thank you for this 2-hour conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I would say thank you for your service, but you don't like that, so. So thank you for trying to make a difference in Americans' lives, and hopefully one day you'll put out one of those movies, and we'll all be able to watch it.
Thank you.
Awesome. See ya.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.